I just felt like recording a rant today after the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict, and I'm just finna speak straight from the heart because this is so frustrating and it's like it makes me upset that there's most likely people in prison right now who were convicted of like maybe some kind of small drug charge, whatever the case may be, and then because of the climate or whatever neighborhoods they were living in or whatever the legal defense team that they had, that they were thrown the book at by whatever presiding judge was overseeing the case, and they might be in there for who knows how long, because there's people in there who are doing 10 years, whatever, 5, 10, life, whatever, over small petty stuff, that if you would compare their crime to Kyle Rittenhouse's crime, you would be in shock. Like, you would be in utter disbelief. And perfect example, I was facing 15 years in prison for being accused of a crime. And I'm not going to go into detail of the crime because it's already been, over 10 years since the crime happened. Maybe one day I'll elaborate on what happened, but at this moment, I'm just going to say I was accused of a crime, and the actual people who committed the crime confessed to doing the crime, and they told the jury that I was innocent and that I did not have anything to do with the crime or what happened. But I was still convicted by the jury, and they basically tried to say that I was an accessory to the crime, even though I didn't commit the crime, didn't know the crime was going to happen. I just happened to be in the same vicinity of the crime. And because I knew, or I had some kind of connection to the people who were doing the crime, I got basically convicted of every charge that they got convicted of, even though I didn't do anything. And luckily it was my first offense, because usually when you take your case to trial and lose a trial, most of the time you get sentenced to the full extent of all the charges. But because it was my first adult offense, and the judge could kind of see that I didn't have any history of that activity or behavior, and because it was like my first offense, and just because of all the evidence, she didn't really agree with the way that the trial must have went, because for whatever reason, instead of giving me 15 years in prison, she gave me 3 years probation. But I did get convicted of all of the charges. So I got convicted of 2 second degree felonies, or no, 2 second degree assault, 2 second degree robbery charges, great bodily injury, a whole bunch of other charges like petty grand theft of a person, stuff like that. And that was back in 2009, and I was locked up until 2010. I got out October 24th or 21st or something in 2010. And I was given 3 years probation, and she said, this is your first offense. I understand like that you should be going to prison right now, but I'm going to give you the opportunity because I see something that, you might have the ability to be rehabilitated. And so she was like, if you mess up one time or at all, you automatically gonna do a mandatory of 5 years in prison if you mess up at all during your probation. So I had to basically go through probation, pay restitution, do multiple programs, get my high school diploma, get a job, do a whole bunch of stuff that I didn't have completed. And on top of that, curfew, um, and any time that they call or they want to drug test me or anything, I had to be available. And if I messed up at all, that would have been a mandatory automatic 5 years in prison. Right? So thankfully I was able to complete my probation and did it with flying colors. And I've been out of prison since, never been in trouble since. Never, well, for nothing serious. But um that just makes me so angry because it's like I was about to go to jail for 15 years for a crime I didn't even commit. And I would have been in jail as a black man who doesn't have the financial um, stability or the support from like people outside of myself, like how Kyle Rittenhouse basically had who knows how many people just paying for his legal um, counsel or whatever, and paying for his GoFundMe and all that kind of stuff, after he basically just took two people's lives, almost killed another person. And because he lives in a state where most of the jury, most likely, I can't really say for sure, but in my opinion, if they are willing to give this man a not guilty on every single charge, and then the judge throws out the other charges that would have probably stuck, because how are you able to legally transport an assault rifle across state lines at 17 years old, and that's not a crime? So he didn't even get charged with that. But I almost went to jail for a robbery, and I didn't rob anybody, didn't hurt anybody, didn't put my hands on anybody. I just happened to be in that place, and I almost went to prison for 15 years. And this man goes free with no probation, nothing. Like, he sat down for a little bit, but you killed two people. So I mean, come on now. You telling me people's lives aren't worth nothing? You could just kill people and you sit down for a little bit and that's cool. You're innocent, you get to walk out scot-free. Your life just gets to go back to just not even normal, because of course it's going to be traumatizing, but think about the people's families that got their family members taken away from them, even though who knows if they were in the right or the wrong, like for being out. Who knows if they were rioting, whatever the case may be, they was out. So I'm not gonna try to paint those people in like a positive light if they were committing any kind of criminal acts. But I don't think that whatever acts they were committing didn't, I don't think it was worth them losing their life over that. Especially somebody who, didn't have the right to, well, I ain't gonna say he didn't have the right to have a gun, but he legally shouldn't have been allowed to have the gun in the first place. And people are dead. And because of the fact that they're dead, they're not able to testify on their own behalf to defend themselves. So the jury is only going to be able to go off of video feeds and pictures and statements and things like that and testimony. But these people aren't here to speak for themselves. And that's probably why he got off. or at least one of the biggest reasons why, because, you know, in my case, there were actually victims, and those victims they lied on me a few times. They said, oh, this is a guy, he had on a black shirt and some brown pants and this and that. And then when you go into evidence, you know, I got a white shirt with some blue jeans or something. Like, you know, whatever. A lot of their testimony didn't add up to whatever they was trying to claim that I did. But that's besides the point. I'm just saying, this country, man, like, I'll accept the verdict because the jury, they the end all, like, you know, they decide. So I disagree with it, but because this is just the way that the court system is set up, you know, if you have a legal team, you got lawyers, whatever, the people that's gonna get you out of stuff like this, then, you know, it works. It should work both ways, but we all know that's not always usually the case. But, you know, if you really think about it, O.J. Simpson got off. We don't know if most people say he did it. So I guess this is like this is kind of like karma or something like that. You know, O.J. Simpson might have did it, and everybody was kind of happy, like, you know, because the glove don't fit, blah blah blah. We don't know, but to most people, he probably killed his wife or whatever happened. Who knows? You know. So I mean, I just think that this sets a bad precedent, because if people feel like, you know, man, if Kyle Rittenhouse or the guy who killed Trayvon Martin or a few other people could just kill people and then, you know, not have to be sentenced to jail or anything, no probation or nothing, then like more people are just going to keep, you know, trying to get away with, see how far they can go. And like, you know, more people are going to lose their life probably. And I bet you any black person that ever tries to bring a gun and they see him walking, that man will not even make it out of that. He won't even make it through that night. You know, he will be neutralized or killed before he ever had a chance to use it, most likely. And the person who kills him will probably be, you know, celebrated like, yeah, you got this black man with a gun, you know, he was a threat. But Kyle Rittenhouse, you know, just a 17-year-old white kid walking around with a gun, kills two people, and injures and wounds another one. And it's just another day in America. Like, so it's sad. And I'm not even looking at it in a political thing. Like, a lot of people try to politicize this, like, oh, you got to be either, you know, right wing or left wing and this and that. It's just, it's not even political to me. Like, you can say somewhat political because, you know, I don't necessarily view it that, you know, if you were on Rittenhouse's side, that you're like a racist or something like that. You know how a lot of people try to paint the narrative like, oh, if you are Kyle Rittenhouse, if you want Kyle Rittenhouse to go free, oh, you must be a Donald Trump supporter, you must be racist and this and that. And I don't really agree with that. I think that both sides of the coin, people who support Kyle Rittenhouse or believe that he was innocent, I feel like to a certain aspects of that argument, they make valid points of self-defense, if you want to use self-defense to the, you know, to the whole, like as a whole, for like your whole argument, because that's how he was basically exonerated, because of self-defense, and that's it. But, you know, there was no other charges that they brought, like illegally having a firearm, possession of, you know, firearm, or however much ammunition across state lines, all kind of different little charges that they could have came up with, but weren't allowed to, you know, charge him with. And there's just like so many different ways that I feel like when it comes to politics and stuff like that, um, it seemed like the judge in the case and the community and the jurors in the case, you know what I'm saying, may have had some, type of influence in my opinion, just because of just watching the case. Um, and there's no way you can really know, but that's just how it looked to me. And I don't know if any other people saw it and if that's how if they looked at it and saw that at all. But just in my opinion, the judge, man, if you look at him versus like the other case going on with the Ahmaud Arbery case, two different demeanors. This judge is, animated, doing a whole bunch of like, um, I can't really think like, he was just a little animated, a little bit outlandish with his mannerisms and things like that, and cracking jokes, and you know um, being a little bit more aggressive against what the prosecution was trying to put into motion or put into evidence and whatever. And then the judge would, you know, be really stern and strict about like the way, oh, you can't do that, da 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 da, going ballistic on them. And then whenever the defense tried to bring up something, oh, it's all right, and just being really, lenient to them. And I don't know, I really believe like it might have to do with, just being having um like a legal team that was really financially uh on a higher, tier, because maybe the what do you call it? The prosecution, they're just some basic prosecutors. Then you have this other legal team who's paid for with a lot of money, and usually the better the lawyers, the better defense. They'll try to find all these loopholes, trying to ask for mistrials, all these different little, you know, um, points and loopholes that they try to find to get their client, as out of as much trouble as possible. And so that's how it looked to me. It just didn't seem that it was going to be a fair trial. Even with the jury, like, nobody really knows what's in any jury's mind or hearts or how they feel. They passed all of the checks that they had to pass to get through, but you don't never know. People could just say, oh yeah, I'm good, but really deep down, they could be the most racist person or the most hated person, and they could just be in support of Kyle, but they're never going to say it. So when they all get into the jury room and deliberate on what's going on, they all could have already been, ready to just say, y'all, he innocent. They destroyed our community. You know what I'm saying? And those people were criminals anyway. Not saying everybody had to think that like that, but just because a jury finds you innocent doesn't mean that, that um, they didn't have an ulterior motive when they decided it. Because, back in the day, when black men was on trial versus a white woman, like in the slavery times or something, and wow, he tried to rape me, da da da, and then the whole jury is white. They all agree, yeah, something happened, and then everybody just agrees, and then they're they're all in on the same agreement that, oh, it's just guilty, 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 but really the guy may have been innocent, or he probably was innocent back in the day. So that's all I'm gonna say on this. I'm not gonna get into it any further. I might come out with a part 2 of this video, but I'll try to elaborate more on like my 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 attitude or just my feelings about this case when I get the chance. So uh yeah, just leave a comment. Um and hopefully, I'll be able to try to make some other videos if I get some feedback. But this is just a really frustrating time. I wanted to say a lot more, but I'm just kind of like not really able to let it out how I want to, because it's just like fresh. Maybe when I get a little bit more time to think and just collect my thoughts, I'll be able to give a little bit better of a analysis, or just like my opinion on it. But yeah, man, it hurts, man. The things black people, and I don't want to make this about race, but it just, if a black person would have did something like this, they would have been in jail right now. No ifs, ands, or buts. The jury would have been like guilty, and that's cold blooded. This man gets to go free. 2 people are dead, and you get a slap on the wrist. And then when you come home, everybody's, he was innocent. So, he's innocent and he's a hero now, and, celebration. And the right wing or whoever, I don't even want to make it about politics, but you already know the majority of the right wing, that's who I've been seeing mostly. Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, all kind of people like that. Oh yeah, he was free and I'm glad, and and now we need to go file lawsuits against LeBron James and everybody and all the people who was talking down on him. Like, man, I wish I could, you know, I wish I could just keep a positive attitude, but this really is just sad, man. This is like the hardest and the most disappointing news that I've probably had to hear in a long time. And this sets a bad precedent, because this is just another 2021, another example of white privilege. And I rarely ever use white privilege or privileges at all. I'd never hardly ever use stuff like that. People who know me know I don't even talk like that. But you know what I'm saying? You could see it. Like, white judge. I don't know what the jury was mostly, but I'm just saying. Like, you probably could get the gist. It probably wasn't a majority of black people in there. Most likely wasn't. Because, I mean, not saying if you black that you should find them guilty. Like, you should just base the case off of the facts of the case and this and that. But I'm just saying, white people have a different way of deliberating than black people, for sure. Because if I was in that room, I'm definitely saying he's guilty. I don't give a dang. Like, self-defense, those people was trying to protect themselves. You don't think you see a gunman shooting people that you shouldn't try to apprehend the person and take the gun away from him? And then they tried to say, like, oh, they were trying to attack him and take his life and smash him in the head with a skateboard. Nah, bro. Like, that's how this courtroom, or that's how the court system is so corrupted, or so, it's so two-sided. Because on this side, it's self-defense. Let a black person do this. That's murder, kill, what do you call it? Assault, murder, whatever. They'll flip it, you know? And if you have a white judge and a white jury with a black person, you know what I'm saying? He gonna get convicted of something, even if he don't get convicted of all the charges. But, you know, even though I would say on a positive note, if this happens to a black person, then they got to give him the same exact result, because you just let it happen for a white person. But I wouldn't want this to happen if he was black or white. I don't care what color he is. I don't want to see people getting killed and then you get a slap on the wrist and that's it. Like, that shouldn't happen. You should have to do some time, at least 3 years in jail, something. Like, you basically was in jail for like a year. I don't even know if he was even in jail. I don't really know his whole situation, but you barely sat down, you out. you know, and people going to jail probably might even be doing life in jail right now for probably back in the 50s and stole a loaf of bread or something, and they in prison right now doing life because they they had a criminal history or something, and then whatever. So I've heard some sad stories. So whatever, y'all. This is another example of the system that we have in America. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. But majority of the time, when it's on the shoe is on the other foot, it's definitely not. So let's just try to stay positive. Leave some comments, and God bless y'all. I'm out.